most of you, if you would have attended my previous session, which was on the COVID notifications the government has imposed upon all the SMEs and other sectors as well. And after that, there were some new reforms which were introduced by our finance minister relating to the commercial industry. Specifically, I would be dealing today the announcement made by her for the SMEs through my presentation, which I have done, and which each one of you, if you would go into detail, you will understand that what is the take home for each one of you and how it can be implemented related to your businesses. And plus, when we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, so one has to look that how can we make a Atmanirbhar Bharat unless we don't make ourselves Atmanirbhar. That means self-sustenance is more important today to make an independent and sustainable India. So let's go on to my presentation, please. The first and foremost, let us consider the package of 3 lakh crores, which was announced as a collateral-free automatic loans for businesses, including SMEs. This is an emergency credit line to business of SMEs for banks and NBFC up to 20% of entire outstanding credit as on 29/2020. If you remember that there was already an announcement that there would be an credit facility which was of 10% to be provided by banks and NBFC. Now what the government has done, they have enhanced this facility to 20% with outstanding credit line as on 29/2020. So all the credit line facilities which are existing on 29/2020 will be eligible for 20%. That means 10% more. Borrowers will, now there is also the eligibility formula which has been provided. Borrowers with up to rupees 25 crores outstanding and rupees 100 crore turnover are eligible for it. Loans to have 4-year tenure with moratorium of 12 months on principal repayment, which means that this additional 10%, which is including, which is consolidating to 20%, will be first eligible to borrowers who have an outstanding of 25 crores and turnover of 100 crores in a particular financial year. Loans will be for a period of 4 years with a moratorium of 12 months, including principal repayment. So you have to repay the principal and interest together within 4 years. Interest to be capped, 100% credit guarantee cover to banks and NBFCs as principal and interest. So you have to provide a 100% guarantee cover to banks and NBFCs for these loans which you take, principal and along with interest. Scheme can be made avail till 31st October 2020. No guarantee fee, no fresh collateral. So at one time, at one point of time, at one side when we see that there is no fresh collateral, at the other hand we see that there is a 100% credit guarantee which we have to provide to the banks and NBFCs, which will be including the principal as well as the interest when we go for these credit facilities. I want to also point out that what is cap rate interest. Now cap rate interest is the interest which is on fluctuating rate, which is on variable. Now these fluctuating rates of interest are normally very high, which is otherwise not the case in when the rate of interest is on fixed. Now when the interest rate is fluctuating, it goes high. So therefore, the possible maximum rate which a borrower can pay and the highest rate of credit which a creditor can obtain through these investment lines. So when these investments are coming as collateral free, these are not coming with any benefits per se. You are still liable otherwise by way of a 100% credit guarantee which you have to offer to banks and NBFCs over the principal and interest. your rate of interest will be higher when you go for such interest, taking such loans. So this is all about the 3 crores collateral free automation loans. There is no timeline provided. This is made available on 31st, up till 31st October 2020, but there is no timeline that from when this will become applicable and available to the SME sector. Plus, there are no fine prints as yet which has been given or circulated with the banks that what all documents, lending documents or investment prospectus will be executed by them when they are financing these securities, these financial assistance to the SME sector, and what will be the nature of the guarantee, credit guarantee that is required to be executed while availing these facilities. The next is 20,000 crore subordinate debt to stressed SMEs. This is for this, the SMEs which are functioning as an NPA or are stressed will be eligible. Now, all those SMEs which are as on date NPA or which have been gone to any stressed asset management company, they will be eligible for this loan. So whether this loan will be coming to the SMEs or it will be going directly to their creditors from whom they have taken the loans is something which is still not clear. Government will provide a support of 4,000 crore to CGTMSE. I don't know how many of you will be aware of this term CGTMSE. Maybe many of you who are into financial sector may be aware, but others I'm not sure. So we will look upon this on clarity. What does this term means? CGTMSE will provide partial credit guarantee support to banks. Promoters of MSME will be given debt by banks, which will then be infused by promoter as equity in this unit. As per Government of India, 2 lakhs MSMEs are likely to benefit out of this scheme. First of all, let us understand what is this scheme all about. And then we have to analyze that whether this is really to be benefited for the SMEs or not. So CGTMSE means Credit Guarantee Fund Trust for Micro and Small Enterprises. So this is a fund trust which will be created, or it has been created by the government, through which the funds will be routed to the MSMEs and startups. The eligibility would be that these facilities will be available to first generation MSME. That means you have to be a first generation MSME or either a startup to be eligible to take this facility. This is a kind of hybrid security product allowing guarantee cover for the portion of credit facility not covered by collateral security. So this is a collateral free credit facility which is provided in a form of a hybrid security. So that means when these funds are giving to you, providing any security, it was hybrid. Hybrid means it may be converted, some may be as a debt, the other may be as a share. So it is a mixture of equity as well as debt. Any collateral third party guarantee free credit facility, both fund and non-fund based. So there is no collateral required or a third party guarantee required, both in fund based and not fund based. A maximum credit cap of 200 lakhs, that is 2 crore, are eligible to be covered. So the credit guarantee fund will be providing a cover of maximum 2 crore for the eligibility for availing this scheme. Guarantee coverage made eligible to select NBFCs and small finance banks. So it will not be available with all the banking sectors. Only few selected NBFCs and small financing banks will be having these facilities, or they will have a tie-up with credit guarantee fund who would be providing these credit facilities. Now there is a repayment. What is the repayment scheme? And what is the guarantee which this CGTMSE will be providing? The guarantee cover available under the scheme is to the extent of 50%, 75%, 80%, and 85% of the sanctioned amount of the credit facility. The extent of guarantee cover is 85% for micro enterprises for credit up to 5 lakhs, 50% for credit sanction from 10 lakhs to 1 crore for MSME borrower for retail trade activities. In the event of credit facility is more than 200 lakh, that is 2 crores, then the fund provides the guarantee cover only up to 2 crores, and the balance amount will be against the collateral or primary securities, where the fund will, however, have pari passu charge on the primary security as well as on the collateral security provided by the borrower to the creditor. In case of default, the trust settles the claim up to 75% of the amount, which should not extend beyond 2 crores. Now, the scheme is such that any startup organization, MSME or a first generation MSME, when they take up any loan or financial security from financial assistance from a select bank or a select financial institution, then the fund is guaranteed up to a limit of 2 crores by the to these banks and financial institutions on behalf of the MSMEs. But the guarantee cover is they have a cap of guarantee cover to the extent of 50%, 75%, 80%, 85%. Beyond that, anything what you give is by way of a collateral. So if suppose an MSME or a startup wishes to take a loan which is beyond 2 crores, then they have to provide a collateral security or a primary security to the banks and financial institutions. Now, if your amount or your facility is more than 2 crore, and whatever credit facility or primary security or collateral security you provide to your bankers against securing the due repayment, the CGTMSE will have a pari passu charge on that primary security. And in case of default, 75% of the amount or to the extent of 2 crores will be adjusted will be repaid by the trust, and balance you have to make. Payment will be made by you out of the 200 lakhs plus the additional amount which you have paid. Now, this is all very confusing because when we see that there is a credit guarantee fund which looks very tempting and very nice to hear, that the government is providing a financial assistance and securing the due repayment of the loan of the first generation enterprises by way of creating such funds up to a limit of 2 crores. But how are you going to secure these funds when they give a guarantee cover? There is a guarantee cover which they provide, but there is no clarity that when a fund is or from government based fund is providing a guarantee cover to the banking sector or to your financial finance provider, how are you going to cover these funds? There may be some, that means this has been kept under hybrid security. Hybrid security means then these guarantee covers which the fund is providing to the banks, you will be to such extent will be providing these funds as a debt and equities. So therefore, some of the amounts will be in debt and some of the amounts will be in hybrid security or in equities that will be a mixture of security and debt, which is called a hybrid security. So this is how they are going to take the protection from you while they provide the guarantee cover. And of course, in the event that there is any default, so they are taking up the liability of only 75% of the settlement of the amount and not beyond that, even if the amount is 2 crores up to, and if it is beyond that, then you have to compulsorily provide the collateral and primary securities to the banks, in which the CGTMSE will have a pari passu charge on collateral, on these collateral and borrowing credit facilities. So again, the amount, the 20,000 crore which has been packaged, which has been announced by the government for subordinate debt or stress SMEs, is not coming with any silver lining, but it is coming with lot of stress and burden again. The other one is 50,000 crore equity infusion for SMEs through fund of funds. Now, fund of fund with corpus of 10,000 crore will be set up. So, fund of fund is a fund which has yet not been set up, which the government is in the process of setting up the fund. And what is this fund, that I will explain you in my next slide. Let us see what the government has to provide to SMEs under the fund of fund scheme. Under the fund of fund scheme, equity funding for SMEs with growth potential and viability. Fund of fund will be operated through a mother fund and few daughter funds. Fund structure will help leverage 50,000 crore of funds as daughter level. Will help to expand SMEs as well as SME capacity. Just a minute, please. Is this slide clear to everybody? I am having a little problem over here, and will encourage SMEs to get listed on main board of the stock exchanges. Now, what is fund of fund base? Funds of funds. A fund of fund, also known as a multi-manager investment, is a pool of investment fund that invest in other types of funds. In other words, it's a portfolio which contains different underlying portfolios of the funds. These holdings replace any investing directly in bonds, stocks, and other types of security. So this is the definition of fund. Like we have a big mutual fund, and in that we have small funding funds, available. And when our portfolio manager takes our amount into the funds, and then he distributes it, allocates it in small portfolios. So this is exactly what is the meaning of a fund of fund, and it's going to be a mother fund which will be investing or allocating these amounts into small funds from where you will be getting the allocation. What is FOF in India? A fund of fund is a kind of mutual fund scheme that essentially invests in a collection of mutual funds, and sometimes in hedge funds as well. As in India, FOF are typically mutual funds investing in overseas mutual funds or ETFs. So now, looking at this definition and looking the way it has been done, I am not able to understand that this type of a fund, how it will come to the help of an MSME, which are small type of MSME, which the capital investments or their turnover is so small that they may not be eligible for floating or coming up or listing themselves on a stock exchange. So if I look upon this, then this may be looking beneficial to those MSMEs which are listed on a stock exchange, or which are going to or in a process of being listed on a stock exchange. As far as the other small time MSMEs are concerned, I don't find that FOF funds will be in any which ways can be brought to the benefits of those small time enterprises, because again, what is the fund allocation that is required to each MSME per se, and what is the criteria in which an MSME fits in to obtain the facility of this FOF is still not very clear. Now, as far as the definition of MSME is concerned, this was the earlier definition of MSMEs, which included only investment in plant and machinery. Like for manufacturer, it was investment. Micro is investment which is less than rupees 25 lakhs. Small, it is less than 5 crores. Medium, it is less than 10 crores. Service enterprises less than 10 lakhs is micro. Less than 2 crores is small, and less than 5 crores is the medium. Now, how this has been replaced? There was already in 2018, let me tell you, there was already a proposal, and this definition of MSME needs to be changed, and it was presented before both the houses. But in 2019, it was withdrawn, and again the same class revised, it is not revised, but it is the same definition which has been now brought into process and which will now pass both the houses, and then it will be amended in the main act. So now this, under this revised MSME classification, it has not classified, no, there is no differentiation between manufacturing and services. The classification has become more burdensome according to me, because the limit of the investments of micro has increased by 1 crore. So any micro which has an investment of plant and machinery less than 1 crore plus a turnover of 5 crore, annual turnover of 5 crore. Similarly, small is investment in plant and machinery of less than 10 crore and turnover of 50 crore. Medium, investment less than 10 crore and turnover of 100 crore. So therefore, when we see that the classification which today existed in the law for MSME is much more simpler and much more acceptable, because then you are identifying yourself on the basis of your investment in your plant and machinery or office equipments for service providers, for the sake of clarification. But when we look into the new amendment which is now to be introduced, is much more burdensome, because after the COVID-19 is post COVID-19, when the businesses are resumed, how many of you the MSMEs which will be after this after the amendment has been brought into effect will be really hitting these caps? How many of you would be coming as micro, small and medium if within a annual year, when you file your annual returns, if your investment is less than 1 crore or your turnover is less than 5 crores? So this is something again which has become very burdensome, that you have to have the compliances of both, when today it was existing that you have a very simple classification on the basis of investment on plant and machinery. So this is again, let us see how this will be post COVID-19, how how many SMEs will be then following under these covers and will be eligible for registration under small and medium enterprises. Now, other intervention for SMEs. Now, what the government has tried to say is that for SMEs currently facing problems of marketing and liquidity due to COVID, an e-market linkage for MSMEs to be promoted to act as a replacement for trade fairs and exhibitions. They have created an e-market linkage. Fintech will be used to enhance transaction-based lending using the data generated by the e-marketplace. Now, how fintech will be helping to enhance transaction and lending-based transaction is something. I mean, when there is a documentation which has to be executed, it has to be executed. You cannot on your WhatsApp, or you cannot send a link to your finance provider and say that, okay, this is what, I mean, there cannot be 100% fintech. Fintech cannot 100% promote these transactions. At some point of time, you have to have, it may be that e-filing or e-transactions can take place, but fintech is a very wide term. So how fintech can be used as far as when you enhance transaction-based lending is something which we can only observe, and which we can only realize when actually this is put into effect. Government has been continuously monitoring settlement of dues to SMEs, vendors from government and central public sector undertakings. SMEs receivables from government and CPSEs to be realized in 45 days. Now, those who must have attended my last session, I had made clear. I have read out the policies of the advocacy policies of the MSME, which were carved out on my letter which I have written to MSMEs. Under that, they have made it very clear that all the government, central government or government payments through central public sector enterprises or through public sector enterprises should make an application, whether they are pending payments, whether there is any dispute which is pending, or there is any samadhan scheme application which is pending to be heard and decided. All those and all those SMEs can and must approach the Department of Public Enterprises website, where there is a column of support to SMEs, on which there is a column, there is again online application, filing of application of delayed dues, pending dues. So you can take assistance of these DPE website and the MSME support application to file this application for recovery of your dues. See, these are all measures which has been given by the government, which I am able to explain you today what you need to do. But how far they can benefit to you and how far you can achieve your purpose in getting it, getting a success out of it, is something which you once, which is can only be observed and seen once you have actually tried it out, or you have given it a try and worked upon it. Unless doing anything on what is provided, we cannot just sit, read and say that, okay, this is not done and this is not available, that is not available. So, of course, the government has not specified this DPE, which was specified by the MSME. So I am repeating it again to make you aware that how MSME receivables from government and CPSEs within 45 days can be realized. 45 days is a advisory time limit. Please do not consider as a statutory time limit. It is an advisory time limit. I am repeating because all these reforms which have been introduced or which our FM has pronounced are all advisories. Unless they don't become statutory and they are not implemented, they remain still advisory. So this time is also advisory, but you have to take advantage of this time today by making your application and filing it and saying that this is what the government has said, this is my application, I need my funds. So at least from your side, you have done an exercise so that tomorrow, even if you have to stand for the purpose of arguing or for the purpose of raising your claim, then you have done your part of exercise. Now, 2,500 crore EPF support for businesses and workers for 3 months more. Under this is coming under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package. Payment of 12% of employer and 12% employee contribution was made into EPF accountable accounts of eligible establishment. This was provided earlier for salaries for month of March, April and May 2020. This support will be extended by another 3 months to salary month of June, July and August. This will provide liquidity. Now the government says that this will provide liquidity relief of 2,500 crore to 3.67 lakh establishments and for 772.22 lakh of employees. This is further, there is further something to say on it. Now EPF contribution reduced for businesses and workers for 3 months. That is rupees 6,750 crore liquidity support. In addition to the Pradhan Mantri Kalyan package, the statutory provident fund contribution of both employer and employee will be reduced to 10% each from existing 12% each for all establishments covered by EPFO for next 3 months. So what you were paying 12% each, now it is reduced to 10% each. But CPSEs and PSUs will, however, continue to contribute 12% as employer contribution. The eligibility of the scheme is the key to this relief. The scheme will be applicable for workers who are not eligible for 24% EPF support under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package and its extension. This will provide, see, this is coming with an asterisk. This is not coming as it. So now this is not coming as it is, and it looks very good. This will provide relief to about 6.5 lakhs establishments covered under EPFO and about 4.3 crores such employees. Now, when we see the scheme will be applicable to workers who are not eligible for 24% EPF, which means the scheme is applicable to companies which have 90% of its employees or workforce who have a monthly salary up to and below rupees 15,000. So now, how many of the MSMEs will be having their employees which will be falling below this cap of 15,000? So this is applicable to the companies, that 10% to you and 10% to the by the employees. So all these scheme is applicable to the companies and the employees. Who are the companies who are having 90% of its employees who are earning 15,000 rupees or below every month? So again, every MSMEs or every company will have to then check that whether they really qualify under this Pradhan Mantri scheme for further benefit or liquidity support which the government is trying to give to the MSMEs. Now, relief to contractors. Extension, now all the contractors who are having tenders or business contracts with the government and PSUs and CPSEs and DPEs, they have been given an extension of 6 months without cost to contractor. So if you have seen in my last slide, in my previous seminar, MSMEs under its advocacy policies are already mentioned that the government contracts and the PSUs and CPSEs will revisit the liquidity clause. This is exactly what it means, that if there is a delay, there should not be a liquidity cost on the contractors. So therefore, extension of up to 6 months without cost to contractor. That means for 6 months there is no liquidity clause. The liquidity clause of a contract cannot be invoked and cannot come into effect. To be provided to all central agencies like Railways, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, Central Public Works Department, etc. Covers construction works and goods and services contract, covers obligations like completion of work, intermediary milestones, etc. Extension of concession period in PPT. Government agencies to partially release bank guarantees to the extent contracts are partially completed to ease cash flows. My request to all SMEs is, even if your partial contracts are completed, please start writing to the agencies and the governments and whosoever tender you are in, that your partial guarantees under this scheme of the what has been announced by the FM to be released, and this has to be done ASAP without there is any further delay, because the delay is nothing can come to you retrospectively, everything will come to you prospectively. So the delay will be not in your favor and in your interest. It will be of course in the favor of your the contractor who is providing you the contract. So please take advantage of this moment when the government itself has said that partial release of all bank guarantees to the extent the contracts are partially completed to ease cash flow. But yes, I don't know, even if you write and even if they are willing to partially release their guarantees, how long they are going to take to release your funds. This is totally between you and your contractor. This is something which the government has not specified, that within how much time the partial completion of the contract and partial release of the guarantees should be made by the public sectors and the governments. That has not been clarified. So this is something which you have to work out internally. But yes, it is important that necessary steps needs to be taken at this stage. Extension of registration and completion date of RERA. Now this is something which has been given to the developers, that the Housing Affairs Ministry and Housing Ministry and Urban Affairs Department should treat the COVID-19 as event of force majeure. This has already been declared in February 19th notification by the FM, that the COVID-19 and the lockdown under COVID-19 is a force majeure, being a calamity and a pandemic calamity in fact. So under this force majeure, all the SMEs who are here, who are developers, can take this advantage, that extend the registration and completion date suo moto by 6 months. So suo moto 6 months your registration and completion date of your projects will be extended who are expiring on 25th March 2020. For this extension, 6 months, you don't have to make any individual applications. Regulatory authorities may extend this for another 3 months if needed. Issue of fresh, but this 3 months I'm telling you will not come in suo moto. For that, you have to make an application. Issue fresh project registration certificate automatically with revised timelines. So revised timelines will be made applicable for 6 months. For the 6 months is not said by the government that it will come suo moto. For this, applications has to be made, and only after making application, the regulatory authority it will be again under their discretionary powers to extend it for further 3 months, conditionally or unconditionally. That is something which depends upon the regulatory authority. But immediately upon the registration, suo moto of 6 months, fresh project certification needs to be issued. Extend timelines for various statutory compliances under RERA concurrently. So yes, if there is any compliances which you are at the default, then you have to take advantage of this reform and start applying to the RERA and concurrently obtain the compliances of these statutory compliances, which remains to be done at your end. Then again, there is a 50,000 crore liquidity which has been announced through TDS and TCS rate reduction. The rates of tax reduction at source for non-salaried specified payments made to residents and rates of tax collection at source for the specified receipts shall be reduced to 25% of the existing rates. Now, suppose the existing rate is 12. So 25% of the 12 will be reduced. Now, existing rate is 10%. So that means 25% is reduced. So that means 7.5. So this is how they have tried to reduce the TDS as well as TCS. Both tax deducted at source and tax collected at source have been reduced to 25% of the existing rate. Payment for contracts, professional fees, interest rate, dividend, commission, broker, etc. shall be eligible for these rates, reduced rate of TDS. But yes, now this is important, that this application or this relief is applicable to you only in the financial, when you file your annual returns for the year 31st March 2020. So if we know that most of us have not filed or have not been able to file our financial returns for 31st March 2020, which timeline has been extended till October by the government, but still, so whatever now there is tax which is TDS or TCS, what is the relief which is being given here will be applicable for deductions and for consideration only for the financial year 2020, 21, and which will become applicable and which you can seek relief or seek the benefit of on for the financial year 31st March annual return filing year 31st March 2021 and not for this year. So this is again that you don't have anything today. You have to see to it. It's still 1 year year hence now when we can actually enjoy these facility or these reductions or rebates. According to Government of India, measures will release liquidity of 50 crores. So this 50 crores relief will be released today or after 2021 is something which will be which only time can say. What are the measures of other direct taxes? All pending refunds to charitable trust and non-corporate businesses and professional, including proprietorship, partnership, LLP and cooperatives shall be issued immediately. So now the refund, this direct measure speaks the refunds for charitable trust, non-corporate businesses and professions, including proprietorship, partnership, LLP and cooperatives shall be issued immediately. It doesn't say about the corporate or the commercials, the companies, manufacturers or product who are into product or whatsoever, the SMEs, whatever is the time of whatever is the line of businesses that you do. So it has specifically mentioned that the pending refunds would be applicable to whom and immediately. It just says immediately. There is no specific timeline which has been provided. Due date of all income tax return of financial year 2019-20 will be extended from 31st July 2020 to 31st October 2020 to 30th November 2020, and tax audit from 30th September 2020 to 31st October 2020. So our annual returns can be filed from 31st October 2020 to 30th November 2020, and tax audit from 30th September, it has been extended to 31st October 2020. So this is all under direct taxes measures which have been provided. Now we come to additional boosters which to ease doing businesses for corporates, including S corporates. I include SMEs as well. Companies can directly list their securities in foreign jurisdiction. Private companies which list their NCDs, non-convertible debentures on stock exchange, not to be regarded as listed companies. There is no threshold which has been provided here that what should be the threshold of a private company to list its NCDs in a recognized stock exchange. Privatization of certain PSUs. Now, which PSUs will be privatized, that also not cleared. Companies Act decriminalize. Now, there are 7 compounding offenses dropped completely and 5 others to be dealt with under alternative remedy framework. Now, what are the decriminalized section? That is not made clear. We are still expecting the notification to come. Which are those 7 compounding offenses which have been dropped completely, and which are those 5 others which have to be dealt with in an alternate framework? And what is that alternate framework? That also we are awaiting the notification of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs to become aware of these provisions. Debts related to COVID-19 shall not be treated as default under IBC. No fresh insolvency case to be initiated for up to 1 year. That we have already spoken in our last session as well. For SME, a special insolvency framework will be notified. So let us wait and let us see what the Ministry of Corporate Affairs and the Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India will have to notify the framework for the MSMEs who are in default of more than 1 crore. Minimum threshold of insolvency raised to 1 crore, previously 1 lakh. New benches of NCLT will be promulgated or incorporated in different parts of India, metropolitan cities. One is already being put up in Madras, Chennai. We are looking that in Bombay, they may be coming up in Bombay, Kolkata, and such other places. That is yet not clear. Lower penalties for all defaults for small companies, 1-person company, producer companies, and startups. Again, we will have to wait for the MCA or the registrar of companies to send any notifications saying the penalty, what will be the lower rates of penalties which will be applicable in line of the decriminalization of the sections which they are wanting to do. So this will be important for all the companies, small companies, 1-person companies, producer companies, because the penalties which in any which way go hand in hand on decriminalization of the provisions which the government is wanting to do, but that can be only clarified once the MCA gives a notification. Now, there is a restructuring of bank loans which was issued on 11th February 2020 by RBI, which was made, and this was a one-time restructuring of existing loans. Why I have brought this topic today is because no loan is going to come to you without you restructure it, without you looking into your present facilities or pleasant loans that you have been enjoying from the bank. Your next credit line will be depending upon those earlier credit lines. which you already are enjoying. So before even you go and you look upon getting a fresh credit line from the banks and making yourself more burdensome, it is important that you look into your existing credit line and try to restructure that loans. Now the restructuring of the loans have been notified by the RBI on 11 February 2020 under RBI 219/20/160 GOR number so and so, which I have mentioned in my slide. This is, and there is a classification and formula and eligibility of how a loan can be restructured. Now first is the aggregate exposure including non-fund based facilities of banks and NBFCs to the borrower does not exceed 25 crore as on January 1st, 2020. This is first. This is comprehensive to what I have already mentioned earlier in the loan facility which the government has exposed. So this is in line to that. The borrower's account was in default but was a standard asset as on January 1, 2020 and continues to be classified as a standard asset till the date of implementation of the restructuring. This is what we have seen in respect of the debt, MSME debt and stress asset. This is what exactly the restructuring of your loans will be. This has already been notified here. Now, there may be some changes which you could see in which may be proposed by the RBI in conversation with the finance ministry, or they may bring some changes to this. This was already changed. This was already modified to the earlier circular of January 1, 2019, but there may be certain other changes which we can see. As of now, this exists as a restructure. So, the MSMEs which are stressed MSMEs have to go through this restructuring route of the banks. The restructuring of the borrower account is implemented as on before December 31, 2020. Only thing, the date has been extended. Instead of January 2020, they have made it February. The borrowing entity is GST registered on the date of implementation of the restructuring. However, this condition will not apply to MSME that are exempt from GST registration. This shall be determined on the basis of exemption limit obtaining as on January 1, 2020. The account which was already, now this is important, the accounts which have already been structured in terms of circular dated January 1, 2019 shall be ineligible for restructuring under this circular. All other instructions specified in circular dated 1, 2019 shall be applicable. So when the government is talking about bringing MSMEs and removing MSMEs debt and being a stress asset, it has to be considered. This notification has to be looked upon, because here this notification has made it very clear that the accounts which have been already restructured under January 1, 2019 will not be eligible for again for restructuring of the loans. So whether now this notification which has been issued by RBI is going to be made applicable or not is also not very clear. But as of today, this stands as it is in vis-a-vis the reforms which have been announced by the finance minister. So this is the position today as far as the financial part of the economy to which the MSME is being affected or is being prone to is the part of the this economic stream which is applicable to the corporate sector as well as the SMEs. Now, when all said is done is this, as in my opening speech I mentioned that how do you talk about an Atmanirbhar Bharat when you yourself are not Atmanirbhar and when you yourself are not self-sustainable. We, all of us, are going through turbulent times. There is no doubt about it. These times are going to end. We all know, and we are all positive about it, because anything which starts has to come to an end, maybe today or tomorrow. It may be a short term or for a long term, but which starts everything has an end. so this COVID-19 will also have an end. But what we need to see is this: after this COVID-19 is over, we will be the first person to look into the reformation of our businesses before we go into the reforms what the government is giving to us and how much they will be benefiting to us. That is something which only we can judge, analyze, and look upon when we really go into the performance of our businesses. For this, I have a suggestion which you may be looking into it. Many of you, this is something on legal aspect I would like to give my suggestions. You may think about it in the long run and how best you can implement it and take advantage of it. That is something each one of you have to look upon. In the event you need any suggestions or any advisory, we are always there to help you. Now, how I think from my perspective, how SMEs can be boost and sustain an economy is through joint ventures and collaborations. Recently, our Prime Minister has said that any collaboration with the foreign entities which is below 200 crores cannot be possible. Any collaboration beyond 200 crores can be only looked upon. I say, why even 200 crores? Why cannot we have a huge collaboration amongst ourselves? We are SMEs, we have all the everything within us. We have a manufacturing, production, material provider, service provider, financials, every marketing, everything, team, technology. SME is today everywhere in every walks of life, in every team. And when we talk about Atmanirbhar, then the SMEs have to come together to strengthen their own hands, to join themselves and become a stronger SME than ever. This is the only way. Now, take an example. Do you think all these foreign companies who have come into India would have been otherwise able to survive Indian economy if they would not have a collaboration or if they would not have a joint venture with an Indian partner? No, not at all. Because they had a strong team, Indian partner with them, a strong joint venture with an Indian partner. Therefore, they were able to succeed and grow so much in India. Why can't this principle be adopted ourselves? The government is also speaking about public-private partnership with PSUs to be privatized. Why can't an SMEs look amongst their own selves to do a joint venture, to collaborate with itself, to become more strong each other? There can be organic and inorganic, both ways a joint venture can be done. Now, what are the basics which one needs to, with an SME, has to look upon when they think about a joint venture? Now, Indian businesses, especially SMEs, have begun to appreciate strategic JVs as an option for business growth recently. JVs can be a lucrative option for businesses of all sizes for various reasons. Now, what does it include? Risk distribution and management, sourcing financial and non-financial resource, business expansion, new product development, access to technology and intellectual property, leverage distribution channel, new market penetration, a special international economies, enhancing operations capacity. So now when two small sectors come together, they make a big sector. What happens to it when you make a big sector? Your risk distribution gets minimized. You have a larger management team. There are two people who have their minds are going in two different, and then two positive come together, two negative come together to make a positive. Source of financial and non-financial, where two people come together, then their financial increases. There's business expansion. You can have a new product lineup. One is in manufacture, the other is in marketing. You can bring together both marketing and production together. So you are minimizing your cost as well. Access to technology and intellectual property right. There is one technology, one intellectual property right. Distribution channels get wider. Your distribution costs gets lesser because what you pay to your different marketing is within you now. So you are a marketeer, you are a producer, you are a marketeer to your product. So there are several ways when you can look upon how you have to enhance your businesses, how you have to look upon that how after this COVID-19, how you need to enhance your businesses, what will be the beneficial route for you to go about in your business, whether you have to really, it will cumbersome for you to immediately go to the banks and seek financial assistance when there is several financial assistance and several loans which still you have to service, and over and above that you have to go more into indebtedness. Or rather you look out options which are available to you, that how you can join together, enhance together, and increase your capabilities, increase your finances, minimize your risk and minimize your cost. Things you must know about JVs to explore. This is a strategic decision for any businesses. Now, JV can be many shapes and size. JV can be a new company, a partnership, 50-50 venture, formation, cooperation and sharing information, channel distributions. There are several ways in one can look upon this collaboration. Formation of new entity for obtaining specific objective for a temporary engagement. Joint venture, as I said, the joint ventures may be both organic and inorganic, depending upon the nature and the needs of your businesses and how much risk and rewards that you need to share. So this is one thing which I would request all of you, the SME especially, to look upon it, to give it a thought, that whether it is really beneficial at this stage, how you want to expose yourself to more debts or to more benefits and facilities. Your readiness for a JV is the key. Now, as I said just now, you have to first think about it. You have to introspect yourself, that how you need to do, what you need to do. Are you going to be into benefit out of it? Or what is it that you require? So you have to have a meticulous move, or you have to have a due diligence, know your strength. Shares, know your strength, fair shares and ups and downs. You need to know the up and downs of your businesses. What are your strengths? What are your failures? Where do you fall weak? Businesses should be adequately cushioned to create win-win partnership. To have place adequate system, policies, overall execution strategy, risk, rewards, rights, obligations, to be discussed. You have to then have understand your partners. Then you have to discuss that what are the policies, overall execution strategies, what will the risk and rewards in entering into such collaborations, what will the right of the obligations of each parties. You have to have readiness and willingness to channelize resources. So the most important thing is that trust, readiness, willingness to channelize your resources to each other without any conflict or challenges. It should not be that this is mine, this is yours, and there should be a trust and bond, which is most important for any business to survive. I will not name, but I have clients who were into different sectors of businesses, but who came together and who have been into joint venture as a partner for 49 years. This is the 50th year that they are running for their businesses, and they are doing tremendously good. They have very less risk exposures. Now, right partner choice. The key to a successful JV is a complementary competence, common business objectives, visions and missions to grow, attitudes towards collaboration, organizational culture, business reputation, complementary relationship between their vision, financial security, financial prudence, stability in top management, no conflict of interest in each other's policy, governance, and business practices, trust and familiarity, entrepreneurial skills, value addition, and transparency of transaction. Now, these are the all qualities, and these are some things which one has to look into when you have to look yourself, and you have to look to your partner, with whom or with which you are going to or willing to have a collaboration or a joint venture. These are the things which is very important at a very initial stage before you analyze to what I have just discussed. So I think this is all what was my presentation about.
Okay, Kushma, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so we have certain questions. Yes. One, specifically, they want to understand if the collateral-free loan, which you mentioned, is it applicable for import outstanding as well?
They have not mentioned anything as such.
Could we expect something?
That will be only when the fine prints are circulated with the banks. Then only banks will be able to say, and we will also come to know. Because this is just advisories which have been pronounced. We don't know the clarity as such as yet. So we are still awaiting the clarities which the FM should be giving to the banks. And when the banks have it, then we will also come to know.
Okay, so as you mentioned about the scheme, which is your CGT MSE support,
Yeah.
are all banks eligible to provide the scheme,
No.
like both public and private?
There are only selected NBFCs and selected small financial banks which will be which will be eligible for providing this, because this is a fund which has been created or yet to be created. So there is still we have to get the papers that which are the banks which will be eligible for providing this CGTMSE.
So, in terms of banks, like the name of the banks, is it anywhere mentioned where they can access which bank?
That's what I'm saying. There are few banks. I am not having myself because the papers are not yet out. We're still awaiting that which will be these banks. But yes, it is clear that there will be only select few of NBFCs and small financial banks. There will not be big financial banks. So there will be small financial banks. Maybe they may be cooperative bank or scheduled bank which will be giving this facility. But as of now, I do not know because there are no papers which are here as yet.
Okay, and there is one question which they're asking about: how do we link the repo rate for existing loans? And after linking, do they have any benefits of interest percentage cut?
See, in my last session, I have already said that repo rate is the repo rate is between a transaction between RBI and the banks and the commercial banks. So there, the repo rate is from 4% they have done to 3.75%. Now, what is the rate of interest at which the banks will be charging, the rate which the banks will be charging to the clients in providing the credit facilities or any working capital facility or any overdraft facilities is with the banks, and which has not been yet come out. The rates have not been, they have just said the rates will be less. Now they are putting the cap rate. The interest has been capped. That means whatever facilities will be now provided, that is credit facilities up to 20%, which they are saying, will be under cap rate. Cap rate means it will be a fluctuating rate of interest and which will be particularly high. It's not going to be fluctuating interest, rate of interest are quite high. So they are going to be a high rate of interest. They are not going to be but what will be that interest? That again, the banks don't have the papers as of yet. So unless they don't have anything, we can't say anything.
Okay, so if a company has been issued like a one-time settlement scheme from the bank and they were about to make the payment during March end, now, but due to the COVID situations, they could not pay. So how much time extension a company like this will be, like what kind of extension will be allowed under the new guidelines?
Yes, see, from as per the High Court order, Bombay High Court order, which had come in 11th April, Bombay High Court said that all the companies which were to make the payment and have not been make the payment because of the COVID-19, so they will not be declared as NPA till such time the lockdown is over. So till such time the lockdown is over, the person does not have to worry that he will be taken to court or he will be declared as an NPA. But yes, I would advise and suggest that you have to write to the bank that after the COVID pandemic is over and the lockdown is over, how much time you would take then to make your payment. Because in any which way, there is a new repayment structure will be drafted and which will be coming out for MSMEs under the insolvency and bankruptcy code, so that they are not taken to the insolvency. And any which ways for 1 year, nobody is going to be taken to insolvency. But yes, it is better that a communication needs to be sent. Don't wait that what will be the new structure which will be here. Because if your structure of repayment has already been issued to you and has been admitted by the bank between you and the bank prior to COVID-19, so post COVID-19, there's not going to be change. Only thing you have to seek extension of time from the bank. For that, you have to make a communication to the bank.
So that means every MSME, they have to contact the individual banks, write a formal communication to them during this lockdown, because post and have that entire communication well drafted on mail or wherever possible.
Yes. So because first of all, you are covered under the COVID-19, under the force majeure clause already covers you. Plus, there is an High Court order that you cannot be declared as an NPA till the lockdown continues. So these are the two benefits which you have to you. Thirdly, that after COVID-19, you know best your finances, that within what time post COVID-19 or post lockdown, you will be able to remake the repayments to the bank. So I would say if you are willing to make the repayment within 3 months, so you should write to the bank that within coming 6 months, post lockdown, you would make. So 3 months you take a added buffer to yourself. So don't give a timeline, when you do not know what the situation you would face in after the post lockdown. So therefore, it's better that you take your buffer wisely. And instead, when you can make a payment, you know that your financial will be in a position to make a payment within 3 months. Take additional 3 months for yourself. So that will be a rescue. Those 3 months will come as a rescue to you.
Okay. So like an approximate 6 months timeline, which we can, which MSME should look like.
Yes.
All right. So as you mentioned as a suggestion about the joint ventures as an MF or an MSME. So what about if the joint ventures, they should look with an Indian collaboration or a foreign collaboration? Because whenever it comes into a foreign collaboration, the technology is involved and the difference in technology which both the parties have a problem with. So what kind of suggestion would you say?
So here, when you're talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, then we are only looking into collaboration between the two Indians. Also, the government has made it clear that any collaboration which is within the limit of 200 crores will not be a foreign collaboration. So within 200 crores, we are looking for a collaboration which should be Indian collaboration. Because then only we make a Bharat and Atmanirbhar Bharat. If we have again a foreign collaboration, we are not making Atmanirbhar Bharat. So we have to have this collaboration, and it is very important for the SMEs, because how are you going to then strengthen your SMEs? Merely having financial reforms, which are again going to be burdensome on each and every SMEs. If individually they handle it, it's not going to solve the purpose at all. So you have to have a collaboration with you, and it should be a wise collaboration. It should be a collaboration with an optimism that yes, we are going to make it. First of all, you have to make yourself sustainable to make an Atmanirbhar Bharat. But then again, please do not do not run after all these financial packages which have been announced, because they are going to be really burdensome. They are really going to be burdensome unless you are completely sure that you can do it. But otherwise, they are going to be burdensome. So you have to have a collaboration and understanding within your own self, that how are you going to bring about sustainability within the MSME itself, so that then if you are strong enough to have these financial packages for yourself which you are able to service, then good. Otherwise, you still have existing packages to be served.
Okay. In terms of payment protection, like, for buyer's provision announcement for medium enterprises, so is there any facility to get payment from the buyers? Because earlier it was supposed to be 45 days as a notice. So for someone who has to receive payment, is there any payment protection on those sorts?
Yes. As I've already mentioned, that you have to lodge your application on DPE, Department of Public Enterprises, whether the payment, you have filed your application with Samadhan, not filed with Samadhan, you have to make an application over there, and then we can look upon. Then I can look upon it, because once your application is there, then we can approach the MSME and say that as per your advisory and your advocacy policies, we have there are so many number of MSMEs who have filed their applications with the DPEs, but instead of filing this, they have yet not received the payment, so the payments have to be accelerated. But the question doesn't stop here. The problem is what happens to the contract which an SME has with private sectors, because they are not covered under the DPEs. So those private sectors, you have to. I know that most of you, with the fear that you will lose your contracts or lose your client, don't fear to even write a single email asking them to make the payment. But yes, you have to write the payment, because understand one thing: when the government announced force majeure is a situation when you are unable to perform unable to perform under an unprecedented situation, which makes it difficult, not difficult, but which makes it impracticable and not difficult. So when you are enjoying a situation that does not amount to force majeure, when you have done your part of the contract and your payment is still pending, so the making of the payment is not covered under the force majeure, and it is an enjoyment. it may be a difficult situation, but it is not an impossible situation. Also, may I make it very clear that all those MSMEs who have yet not received the payment, even after completion of their contract, they are still eligible for their MSME rate of interest at 3% RBI.
Okay. Now, as we all know, so this is not related to today's topic, but the one which you covered last time related to employees specifically. So one, definitely there have been cases where employers, there's a retrenchment of employees happening. So what a particular person needs to do in case the employer layoffs a particular employee?
That notification has been thrown away. The government of India has scrapped down that notification completely. Supreme Court has asked them to file the reply till such time. 2 weeks time were granted to them, and till such time no coercive action may be taken against the MSMEs or any enterprises if they are laying off their employees. But recently, maybe yesterday or day before, the government has scrapped down that notification, so that is not into existence. So we are all free now. All the employers are free of those impositions.
Oh, okay. So also, as the government said about the EPF, like for the Provident Fund, they've reduced it from 12% to 10%. So that validity is for how many months, and the balance 2%, is it going to be covered by the government, or there is no account for it at all?
There is no account for it at all. It is 10%. They have reduced it from 10% to 12%. Now we don't have a clarity till what time it is made applicable. It is made applicable from today. Till what year it is made applicable, that will be only next notification when it comes. But yes, as I said, it is applicable only to the companies which have 90% of its workforce which are below the pay scale of 15,000.
Okay.
So it comes with a hashtag. It doesn't come on its own as it is.
Okay, so there are also norms on which companies can reduce the rate as well, from 12 to 10%.
Yes, there is. This is the eligibility criteria. So if you have your workers, but the workforce should be 90% of the workforce should be below 15,000. So this is a condition precedent to take the benefit of this eligibility.
All right, and so one last question which we have: the people want to know about the advertising film production industry. So, I mean, do they come under MSMEs, and what kind of norms can you? Because as we see, that particular industry itself is also suffering losses. So, do you have anything to say for?
They are service providers, so they do fall within the category of. So all those who have registered under the SMEs, they fall under the SME category, and whatever reliefs and whatever packages available to the SMEs are available to them. They are not secluded from the run. So they are basically service provider industry. So they are the SMEs. But now, those who have not registered themselves as an SME, please register now immediately, or wait till the new amendment comes. So once the new amendment comes, we don't know that from when onwards till the new notification comes for amendment. We don't know from when and from what date, from what time the new amendment will become applicable, and then it will be really burdensome.
All right. So there is one question of Mr. Naresh Kothari. I just wanted, the question talks about his own personal case, where he's talking about that under the Atmanirbhar Bharat guidelines, there is going to be relief to contractors. It is written under government agencies to partially release bank guarantees to the extent contracts are partially completed. Yes. Now, he says that they are the contractors of PSC, so they would like to know, as under, if out of 100 pieces supply and installation, if they have supplied out of 100 pieces, 50 pieces, and have also done its installation for which they have received payment. Now, during the payment, they haven't received the 10% bank guarantee. In lieu of that, they have deducted 10% value from the bills and shall retain it for 1 year as per contract terms. So after this announcement, are they eligible for the premature refund?
See, now I have not seen the contract. What does it read and how does it say? If I'm going to apply, see, it is always that under the law, the terms of the contract prevail. But you can always take the benefit of these reforms which are here, where the government says that where to the extent of the work completed, to that extent, all the PSUs and government sectors have to release the payment, the bank guarantee. So you can take advantage of it. But yes, also one has to look into the clauses, the terms of the document or the contract which have been executed. Because, but it is always better to start. As I said, that you have to initiate somewhere or the other. So you have to take advantage of these.
Okay, so basically they have to check your contract and then.
You have to check your contract, that what does it say, and then you have to very candidly put it in your letter that though this is, but this is the decision which is here, and this is so. So if there is any, suppose if there is any denial, then we can take up to the higher authorities in view of this. But this is again, this is the advisories which is come. We still wait for the notifications to come. There is no notifications as yet. So if the notification come, then we can relay our reliance on it. But anyways, you can still start your process. You can still start your process.
All right. So for notifications, which is so if an MSME needs to check all these notifications by themselves, what are the sites you would tell them to refer to?
You have to go to MSME site and refer to those. But there are various other ministries. It is not only one ministry which will send the notification. There are several other ministries which will keep on sending the notification. So it is really cumbersome. So if anybody who wants to have a clear clarity, let them contact us. I can help them out. And if any notification comes to us, we can share with them.
Okay, and so we are going to just do one last question for today. That whether restructuring of existing facility will have an impact on future funding from other financial institution or banks.
That depends upon what is your present exposure. It depends upon your present exposure. And it has already been said, I just read that 11th February notification of RBI that all those companies which have already taken the restructuring route prior to on or before January, 1st January 2019, they will not be eligible. So eligibility will be hence. But that is one of the criteria that if you read my that notification, RBI notification, you will come to know what is the criteria. And after this, if there is any further notification which is coming to speak out of the eligibility, then we have to wait till then, because the restructuring eligibility has yet not been come out.